All right, I'm gonna be totally honest. My head hurts so bad today. However, I feel like talking about my favorite twins. Ooh, that's terrible. I have a brother and sister who are twins. I feel like talking about my second favorite twins in the world is a good way to make me feel just a little bit better. Welcome to Let's Rewatch It Again. I'm Jordan, and today we are rewatching Passport to Paris. I love Mary-Kate and Ashley, always have, always will, and this is one of my dippity-top favorite. I feel like it's one of the few films where they really got to be themselves and in a way kind of enhance little parts of their personality that were authentically them without it being a little too much of a character to the side. A lot of times with Mary-Kate and Ashley films, Ashley gets to be the girly one and Mary-Kate has to be the sporty one. Or Ashley gets to be the smart one and Mary-Kate has to be the one that is terrible at school, or vice versa. But in this one, I feel like they actually get to be their authentic selves, in that Mary-Kate is still girly, but she has a little bit of an edge to her. Ashley is still smart, but she has a little bit of that like sweet naivete that she comes into the world with. And in this movie, they're named Melanie and Allison, so MMAA. So we know exactly who is who in this one. If you've listened to my Holiday in the Sun podcast, another Mary-Kate and Ashley film, you know that I just did not agree with how the girls were named. Yes, the letters matched up to their actual names, but it just didn't feel like the names themselves matched the girls. In this one, Melanie, who goes by Mel, Allison, who goes by Allie, felt so perfect for the girls. I don't think that's just because this is the first film in a very big grouping of Mary-Kate and Ashley films. And of course, it's one of the first ones that I saw, but I just feel like I don't know, it just really felt like them. If you somehow missed out on this Olsen Twins classic, let me let you in on the plot synopsis. The two girls, Melanie and Allison, get to go to spring break in Paris to spend a week with their grandfather, who is the ambassador of France. What? The American ambassador, of course, which is really cool and kind of makes them feel like royalty a little bit. We don't see them sit in first class on the plane, but I feel like they definitely did. We're gonna go ahead and jump right in and zip around on a moped because this movie starts off with heavy exposition. Mary-Kate, Melanie, in this film, has a voiceover throughout the entire film, which makes her feel very much like the main character, with Allie as a secondary main character. Right away, it's established that these girls are both fashionable and cool and very close to one another, but also different. Melanie is shown to be completely into music, specifically rock and roll, hip hop, rap, all kinds of like cool stuff. And Allie, on the other hand, is definitely into makeup, clothes, and all things fashion. This is the era where the girls had like a short bob that kind of like flipped out a little bit at the ends. And I was super jealous because they just had the cutest hairstyles with tiny little clips all the time, and I wanted it so bad. But even though my hair is straight in this YouTube video right now, it is naturally curly, and you cannot poodle head all day long with this hairstyle. We quickly learned that the girls have crushes on two guys, Shane and Kyle, and I have to say, meh. I thought so even then. I don't know. And we learned that the girls aren't popular, which always bugs me because they're so adorable and they're identical twins, which to me, pretty much anywhere you go is like a novelty. So the fact that the girls aren't considered to be popular, but they do have lots of friends, is kind of interesting. And here's an important note. The boys cannot tell them apart. That's a big deal in this film, and I can imagine in their real lives as well, because the boys can't tell them apart. It's like a test. Now in this movie, late 90s, early 2000s, anytime you had a movie with cheerleaders in it that wasn't about the cheerleaders, we were rude to them about their intelligence. And that is the case in this film. They're rude about Helene and Darlene. And I'm like, so are these also twins? We don't say that, but it seems to be heavily implied that they're twins, cheerleaders, blonde, and dumb. Okay, what? Like half of that applies to Mary-Kate and Ashley. All right, during Melanie's voiceover of everything that they do at school, we get little like chalk handwriting on the screen and it's like a little freeze frame moment. It's very cute, very artsy feeling for the time. Then we go to dinner with the parents, and they are inhaling their food so that they can talk on the phone to their friends. And their parents are like, hello, what about homework? And these girls are clearly advanced. I don't know why they're in just regular school, because they fully admit that they're able to get all of their work done in other classes. So it's not like they're not paying attention. They just don't need to. I mean, what? And then they also say that social studies is snooze and cruise, S&C. We get a lot of lingo in this film specifically that is clearly made up by these two and is never used again. Allie claims that if they ruled the world, there would be no wars, and Mel says there would be pool parties every day because nobody wants to fight in a bikini. I feel like the entire MTV Challenge franchise begs to differ. It's not their fault. Reality TV was still a really weird idea in 1999, and I'm just impressed that these girls are able to get straight A's, finishing chores and talking on the phone, using headsets. And I wanted to do all of these things so bad, but I was terrible at school. I was not good at keeping up with my chores. And I just don't feel like we talked on the phone to our friends that much. But maybe that's just where I lived. I don't know. Oh, we've got a fun camera shot. So we're back at school, and we have this little like balled up note that is being passed around by feet. So like sneakers. And so like we keep clipping to different sneakers, kicking the ball across the room, and they get caught, of course, by the teacher, who reads the note out loud. Why do you do this, teachers? Also, always, if you're going to do this, teachers, read the note to yourself before you read it out loud. You know, I just feel like that's good sense. There's nothing weird or terrible in this note, but it's the boys asking them to the spring dance. And I would just like to say, I think it's a little obnoxious that Kyle and Shane, see, they're so forgettable. They're just so meh to me. That Kyle and Shane basically ask out Melanie and Allie at the same time over a note. Like, you could have asked them out separately over a note. I would be okay with that. But collectively, it's almost like they're all for a couple, and it's just, I don't know. It just kind of bugs me. It makes me feel like the girls are not allowed to be individuals. So, of course, the girls say yes, which is duh. They have crushes on these boys. And she announces back in their room that their spring break calendar is completely full of fun, ending with the spring dance with Shane and Kyle. However, the parents arrive with gifts of cameras and passports with the news that they're going to Paris. What? We saw during the dinner scene where the girls were talking on their phone headsets that the parents felt like their world was too small and they wanted to somehow open them up a little bit to the world and culture and just not let them be so wrapped up in themselves. And they're going to Paris next week. I'm sorry, this clearly says money. There's no way you just booked a flight to Paris last minute and it was cheap. Like, come on. Another really fun camera moment is when the girls shout no because they're going over spring break. They had so many plans. We go into Allie's mouth with the camera and then exit Melanie's mouth. Why do I love it so much, even though it's so incredibly weird? It's just an iconic Mary-Kate and Ashley moment to me. Now the next day, of course, the boys are super bummed about the girls not going to the dance until about 2 seconds later when they ask out the cheerleaders. Because, okay, let's be honest, maybe these guys can't even tell the girls apart in general. Like, do they even know who the cheerleaders are and then who Mary-Kate and Ashley are? Like, the only way they know is just because the outfits are different, because, like, the cheerleaders are wearing cheerleader uniforms. You know, we don't learn a lot about Shane and Kyle, but, like, I don't know. Maybe they're just not smart enough. I'm not blaming them. Maybe no one's asked them to be smart. In their room, the girls are packing, and Allie panics and goes, what if we don't get asked out again until we're like 20? And Melanie's like, we'll do what everyone else does. Blame our parents. This is what I'm talking about. The girls are so funny without even trying. It's so good. And Melanie has some incredible lines in this film, just saying. I mean, Allie, of course, does as well. Hers are more cutesy, and Mel is like dropping the one-liners like nobody's business. Mom says that Grandpa is going to have a car pick them up at the airport, and really? You're not just going to do it yourself? I think that's so weird. No matter how busy we are, you should pick up your family at the airport. I don't know. I guess to me that says money, like even bigger. Like, I'm so busy. I have so much money to earn and spend. I can't even bother to go to the airport. Melanie says she can't believe they have to spend an entire week with Grandpa Edward. And then Allie goes, you might as well just send us to prison. It's probably a lot cheaper. Oh my God. Again, they're just so cute and funny. I can't handle it. But like, this is why I know that I ragged on Holiday in the Sun a lot, but this is why. Because the girls in Passport to Paris are hysterical. In the show, Two of a Kind, they're so funny the entire time. They have that great sitcom humor, that great like kid family movie humor. In Holiday in the Sun, it just feels so flat. Mom starts to say, I know Grandpa's not good with you girls. And then that's when Allie breaks in and says, Mom, that's like saying the Titanic's not great with icebergs. Okay, quick side note. Mary-Kate and Ashley were definitely obsessed with the Titanic. They reference Titanic so often in their work. Shows, movies, whatever it is. I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, the Titanic itself was mentioned so often. And you know what? I get it. I'm obsessed with it too. This is where we learn that their grandpa is the ambassador to France. Very important job, clearly. And again, it does feel like just adjacent to royalty type status. To the airport, the girls are wearing matching leather jackets and these like crossover backpacks with like one strap that has like a little pocket that you can put your camera in on the front. Blue and pink. And then of course, the girls are wearing the opposite sunglasses. So Melanie is wearing a blue backpack with pink lenses for her sunglasses. Allie is wearing a pink backpack with blue lenses for her sunglasses. Oh my gosh, when I tell you that my sister and I tried to replicate this so many different ways. I wanted those bags. I wanted those glasses. I still do. When we arrive in Paris, the girls' car takes them to the city and they take pictures through their window. And this is so reminiscent to me of Hallie's first moments in London on Parent Trap. Also, if you haven't listened to those two podcasts, what are you doing? We talked about the Parent Trap last summer with Lindsay Lohan. Go back and listen when you're finished with this one. And I'm definitely going to call Grandpa's house a palace because it is massive. We actually have two doors that have to open up for the car to enter a courtyard that then you can go into the palace. Like, whoa. I mean, it basically is. And oh, here's Jeremy. Jeremy is the poor dote that is going to have to take care of these girls all week. And I mean, he really didn't sign up for this. This is not in his job description. Poor Jeremy. The girls introduce themselves and Jeremy is not enchanted by their cuteness. Like, Melanie's like, I'm Melanie, that's Allie. And then Allie goes, for today. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so mean and so great. Grandpa meets them at the bottom of the spiral staircase. And I swear I have seen this front hall in other movies. It's kind of a generic like black and white tile floor, just like a black wrought iron staircase that kind of curves up to the top of the stairs. And it's like a long hallway past. Maybe it's one of those sets in Hollywood that they just kind of scoot around and use for fancy houses. We also meet Francois, who seems to be kind of like the butler slash kind of like Grandpa's helper. Like he serves them food, but at the same time, he's not the cook. But I don't know. He seems to kind of have a general job, kind of like Jeffrey on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then we meet Henri, who is the chef of the house, and he's literally carrying an armful of baguettes. Okay, now here's the thing. Both of these characters are like super underrated, but I feel like Henri gets some really great moments, and Francois's moments are so subtle and so tiny that if you blink, you're gonna miss it. Because Francois has an amazing 10-second comedy routine of taking the bags upstairs. So like everyone else exits, he pops up the handles of the suitcases like boom, and then rolls them like all of 4 feet to the stairs, snaps the handles back down, grabs the suitcases, and then just hoists them up the stairs. It's such a small, subtle thing, but it is so cute. It's so funny. I love Francois. He is the underrated superhero of this film. All right, we learned that Grandpa is far too busy to hang out with us, and we get to have Jeremy as our tour guide instead. Oh, I know. And we also have a very full itinerary that we cannot deviate from. It's printed out and in a fancy leather folder. Oh my God. I'm already stressed. Like, I love a routine, I love a plan, but like, it just sounds like a lot. And we like just got here. Francois comes back and is guiding them around the house, giving them a small tour. And he says, down the hall is the drawing room. And Melanie says, wow, a room just for drawing. I'm impressed. Okay. And then he says, and your room is, and the girls race off as Francois is calling out directions. And I think he likes them already. I don't know why. I feel it. Their bedroom is a giant suite with 2 queen-size beds, and there's like golden wood furniture everywhere. There's a fireplace, and the girls instantly start blasting music from a stereo that they brought with them. I mean, it's a huge boombox. Like, did Melanie bring this in her suitcase? Like, I get it. I'm very serious about music. I will not go anywhere without it. I just don't know. I mean, I guess now we would definitely take like your own Bluetooth speaker, but I can't imagine back in the day packing an entire boombox into my suitcase. I don't know. Maybe Allie had all the clothes. It could work. It could. Melanie draws a mustache over her lip with eyeliner and she starts talking like Henri. And yes, I used to repeat this all the time. And the way that she's like, you American cooking? And then they start jumping on the bed. And I have to say, they're about like 12/13 in this movie. And I'm just going to blame jet lag for the fact that they just start to lose their minds. If you've never had jet lag before, I've only had a small amount from like a 5-hour time difference. And even then, it can make you a little loopy. You start to feel kind of like foggy. And all of a sudden, everything is funny. Things that you normally would like, you all of a sudden hate, vice versa. And they're literally bouncing on the same bed. And Melanie is still mimicking Henri like, the Americans. And I don't know why she's picking on him specifically, but it's really funny. And Grandpa does not like bass or loud music. Shocking. Thankfully, the girls are dancing on the floor by the time he comes into the room because I feel like he would have instantly kicked them out if he found them dancing on the bed. And he's like, what the devil is all this noise? And they're like, you mean the music? No, I mean my granddaughters. Okay, I don't know why, but that still cuts me so deep. Like the way that he says it is almost like, I can't believe you're like this. How did you end up this way? Who raised you? I'm disappointed and just so disgusted almost by you. Does anyone else feel like this was a massive overreaction? Their children dancing in a room to loud music. He doubles down with the intensity and says that dinner is precisely at 1900 hours. I expect you girls to be on time and dressed for the occasion. Okay, well, I hope that their mother prepared them for this because the girls basically have to dress up in little black dresses with pearls every time they go to dinner. Now, also, if you don't know, 1900 hours is military time for 7 o'clock. You basically subtract 1200 from whatever number they say. So if the number is below 1200, that is the actual time. If it's above, it means PM. I know it's supposed to be more precise, but if the person doesn't know how to use military time, they might be late or way too early. Who's to say? All right, it's about to get a lot worse because we're having escargot.
All this money and these people eat slugs?
A quick spin move, and our new dish is a poached liver of a force-fed goose. Ew. Okay, let's put aside the fact that it's liver. A force-fed goose. That is how you introduce my meal to me? Listen, I am not a vegetarian, but I am basically borderline vegetarian. And it's so upsetting to hear it that way. I'm not eating it. I don't care if it's delicious. I don't care if it sounds good. The fact that you said force-fed, we're done. You've been cruel to that animal and I can't handle it. And then we have frog legs and lemon butter sauce. Why, Henri? Why? Maybe he's trying to like show off his expertise, his fabulous skills, but also, again, they're children. And you knew this coming into this situation. And then next is cow's brains. I know we're just trying to be dramatic, like for the movie, and like to be as obnoxious as possible about the food, but like, when are we gonna eat good stuff? Like, when are we gonna eat just chicken or just vegetables? Pasta. I don't know. Do French people eat pasta? I feel like maybe. What about some rice, guys? Like something. At this point, Mel says, check, please. I agree. Grandpa is the dumbest man on the planet. That's all I have to say. He expects them to be 50-year-old women, and they are children. We cut to bedtime. It's dark in the room, and the girls are sleeping on their own queen-size beds, but they're both sleeping on like the opposite side of each queen-size bed close together. So Allie is sleeping on the left side of the bed, Melanie is sleeping on the right side. So if they were both in the same bed, they would be laying next to each other. And I think that is so unbelievably cute because no matter what, they would still have their own side of the bed. I know it's like a really small thing, but because I know twins really well, this totally checks out to me. The girls decide to order Pizza Hut, and when they go downstairs, Henri has intercepted delivery man, and he is disgusted by this hot. And the girls make him pay for it. That is some serious guts. But honestly, it kind of is his fault that they're hungry. So the next morning, Grandpa piles on the pressure real quick for Jeremy. Just, a little more intensity for his life. I feel like Jeremy is in the recipe for an early onset heart attack, possibly, or maybe just like an ulcer. He seems really stressed out and he just like can't unclench, and I don't blame him. And then the girls refuse to let him in the car. They get to the car before him and lock themselves inside, and they're smushing their faces up against the window, and it's so funny. I can't handle it. We got to talk about their outfits right quick because we always need to. Mary-Kate and Ashley are all about fashion. I'm not, but I can appreciate it. Melanie is wearing a peasant blouse with like high-waisted jeans with a kerchief on her head that is very like pirate-esque in styling. So instead of being farther back on her forehead, it's actually a little bit low on her forehead and goes around the cap of her skull rather than kind of angled backward. And I kind of love and hate it. The first several times I watched this movie, I felt like I was supposed to love the styling of the pirate kerchief, but I couldn't get on board with it because I saw how cute it would be when Allie wore it further back with her bangs going through. But I can warm up to it because it feels very much like a Melanie style. And I feel like it's a way of showing that she's a little more sportier, edgier than Allie, who's going to do the expected fashion thing. Now, Allie is looking super cute because she's wearing a headband with little pink flowers across the top, a pink spaghetti striped shirt, and a floral A-line skirt. They both look so cute and adorable. I want their outfits. I would wear both of these outfits today, no question, along with the hair accessories. The girls jump out of the car and run toward the Louvre, but are suddenly being circled by two mopeds. They start to panic, and Jeremy's like, get away from those girls! And he runs and trips over like a chain link fence thing and smashes his face into the ground. So he probably has a concussion. And the mopeds stop circling, and it's two cute boys smiling at them. One of them says something in French, no subtitles, and then each of the girls gets a flower. So cute. I can't. Jeremy finally catches up and they're like, Jeremy, you're such a mess. And he's just like, okay, great. We have a busy day. Let's get in line for the museum. And Melanie's like, okay, let's be open-minded. And Allie says, all right, I'll take the one in the red. No, I meant the museum. Oh, well, I'll still take the one in the red. We get some bouncy French music and a terrible green screen computer animation as the girls are kind of like in the museum and the paintings and statues are like whirling around them. And at first they're like enchanted, like, ooh, oh, wow. And then they just slowly start to get really exhausted and bored. And it's impossible to take in the entire Louvre in one morning. There's no way. The paintings start to blur past with like little like, and the girls are blurred as they trudge along. It's a really good way of showing that like, even though they want to appreciate it, they want to have an open mind, it's all too much all at once. And they didn't get the fun part of the museum. They got the informational part. At a delightful cafe, Jeremy runs off to talk on the phone and Allie accidentally orders fish instead of Cokes. A beautiful woman wearing a cowboy hat, which was very, very fashionable at the time, especially in France, offers to help and then sits down with them. And she's Brigitte, the supermodel. Like the actual supermodel out of magazines is talking to these girls. Because of course she is. Now here's where we learn how serious the girls are about fashion. They pretend to kind of pin it all on Allie, but Melanie clearly understands fashion as well. And a lot of the times, Ashley was the only character in their movies and TV shows to be the fashion-forward one. But we see that both of these girls clearly adored fashion and styling and color. And they actually had a lot of say in their wardrobes over the years. The fashion stylist that was in all of their sets would handpick everything with them and kind of guide them in the right direction. And a lot of times, whatever they were wearing was just ahead of the trend, which means they set that trend. It's kind of incredible to think about. Brigitte tells them that Paris has some of the best shopping and the world's cutest boys. I am not gonna do the French accent the whole time, but I'm gonna try, okay? Like, I'm gonna try, because this is the only movie that made me want to have a French accent at, certain times. Their Cokes arrive and Allie thinks that she's complimenting the server on her perfume, but unfortunately she tells her that she stinks.
What makes you you? What makes you Janice? Pungent?
Over pungent?
Over pungent is a smell. It's a strong smell.
Brigitte tells them that she's late for a fitting because she has a shoot in Luxembourg Gardens on Thursday. Bye girls, ciao. And now we've got more museums. Ugh. Now, they weren't allowed to film in the museums, which is why we get these cute little ways of showing that the girls run in all excited and trudge back out all exhausted. It's a good effect. I like it. At dinner, Grandpa asked them what they learned today, and they both say learn at the same time, and Allie jinxes Melanie, which means that she can't talk until someone says her name. Jeremy is groveling about his water treatment plan, and Grandpa says a firm absolutely not. Great. Why did you hire this guy if you clearly hate him? Melanie takes a sip of wine thinking it's grape juice, and when Francois tries to tell her that it's wine, she panics and spits all over his face, and he does not get mad. He doesn't. Not once does he get frustrated at them in this entire film. I feel like he has little kids at home. He just gets it. The girls don't understand why Grandpa can't unclench, and Melanie says, face it, we don't have a grandfather. We have an ambassador. Oh, I kind of wish he had heard that. I know it would hurt, but I feel like if he heard that at the end of their first day in Paris, he would begin to understand, hey, maybe I need to spend some time with my granddaughters, and maybe I just need to, take a breath for myself. The girls decide to order flowers from the flower shop that the boys work at so they can see them again. Genius plan. And the next morning, the girls are getting all dressed up to see the boys. Love it. When the boys deliver the flowers, we learn that their names are Jean and Michel. And Jean's English is about as good as Allie's, which is not good. Michelle speaks much better English and seems to get along with Melanie instantly. So instantly we have our pairs, Michelle and Melanie, Jean and Allie. Allie invites them to lunch and Jean says, awful. He means awesome, I think. Jeremy finds them and is very not cool with the boys going to lunch with them. I mean, I get it. He's an adult. He doesn't want to go to lunch with 4 teenagers on a double date. But sorry, Jer, this is your plan for this week. Okay, I'm going to try to say this because for whatever reason, it's very hard to say. Michelle tells Melanie that they work for Jean's father's flower shop. Wow. I don't know why that was so hard. There was too many letters, whatever. They work there to make money for their band, the Video Heads. They both love music. This is working out so well. Michelle and Melanie continue to talk about music, and a server pours water out of a glass bottle, and Melanie asks if anyone drinks water from a sink around here. And then Michelle says something that I still have no idea what it means. He says, only if you want to be, as you say, talking to Big Ralph on the phone. What? It's been 20 years. I still have no idea what it means. I don't know if I'll ever know what it means, but I think it's one of those problems where it's like an idiom that is an English phrase that's taken from something pop culture, or somebody misspoke and it just becomes something else in a different language, which is something I'm sure we do to other languages as well. Now, poor Jean and Allie are not faring so well with their conversation, but I adore them for trying. She's like, "Do you like your school?" And he's like, "When the rain comes, I am sad." And she goes, "Okay, let's stick to French." And then the subtitles say, "What books read you?" And he goes, "What?" And she goes, "What?" And then they both laugh really hard. And I just, I absolutely love it. It's so cute because they're connecting in a way that is actually more like heart speaking rather than word speaking. I know, it's so cute. Poor Jeremy is crumbling a breadstick and trying not to die quietly inside. And Allie asks if the server can get her sauce on the side of her chicken. And the guy is super rude about it. And Jean jumps up and yells in French and even does like this little like chicken movement and then hunkers down all protective. And I loved it when I was 12 and I love it now. Every single time I see it, my heart just beats a little faster. And Michelle translates that he said, "How dare you speak to that beautiful girl that way?" And that he is a rear end of a flying baboon. Meanwhile, Jean is nibbling on a breadstick like it's a cigar. And the girls giggle and Jean says, "It was anything." The boys decide that the girls need to see the real Paris, and they ditch Jeremy. Finally. I feel bad for him, but also, like, it needed to happen. We have got our amazing pop rock montage because it's like this song where it's like, "Sugar, sugar, stick 'em into my face." That is not the words, but that is what it sounds like to me. My DVD doesn't have subtitles. I don't know, guys. But the girls zoom off on their mopeds and spend the entire day with the boys. And I was obsessed with this montage. They like get baguettes and they like fight with baguettes like swords in front of the Eiffel Tower. And they're like running around and just having the absolute best time. And then we get a little quieter moment where they're walking on a bridge and Michelle and Melanie stop and take in a painting of a street artist. And Melanie is about to walk off and Michelle's like, "Wait, look at it." And then he starts like talking about the color and the light and the energy of the city. How is this boy so smart about like art? And it's like super romantic. And also,
he's so funny and so sweet, and I'm not attracted to him at all.
Meanwhile, Jean and Ali are talking about how she is not getting fed well at the palace because he says, "They feed you at palace?" "Oh, yes, they feed us fine." Like, but he tells her that she's funny and she's like, "I could get used to this language barrier thing." Crap, it's 4:45. They got to get back to the embassy right now. And so then we get another quick music montage as they zip back. And I don't know if it's possible to get all the way across the city in 15 minutes, but I like the energy of it. Jeremy is pacing in front of the huge entryway and he is pissed. And he says, "You have left me with no choice but to tell the ambassador." "Oh, good idea. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to find out that you let us run around Paris with 2 boys. 2 French boys. Teenage French boys. See you at dinner, Jay." These girls are not playing. Oh my God. At dinner, we get the annoying question of, "What did you girls learn today?" "Grandpa, can you talk to them like actual people? Like, why is there a quiz at dinner?" This man does not know how to relate to others, especially not others that are younger than him. That much is clear. "How are you the ambassador?" Jeremy panics, but Mel says that the Notre Dame has a support system called the Flying Buttress. And then she says a whole bunch of more stuff. And no matter how many times I try, my brain does not retain the information. All I hear is Flying Buttress, and then I just derail because I'm like, the what? And Allie says that most of the kings and queens were married there. Did you know it took over 200 years to build? Guess they weren't in much of a hurry. And the girls compliment Jeremy for taking them around so they can learn about Paris. Very good, girls. Very good. Now, the problem is they promised to meet the boys at 2 p.m. tomorrow, but Allie is starting to feel bad for Jeremy. I kind of am too, but at least we kind of like redeemed ourselves by complimenting him in front of Grandpa. They decide to edit the itinerary, and now it's going to take them to the Luxembourg Gardens on Thursday because Brigitte is going to be there. Now, Jeremy has clearly memorized this, and he's very confused, but he takes them anyway. And his allergies are insane. So he keeps like sneezing. And at one point he sneezes into his hands and both girls like part to the sides like, ew. And then Melanie's like, look, Allie, it's Brigitte. Oh, right. Like you guys know a supermodel and I'm having a good time. Jeremy's funny too. You know, he's annoying, but he's actually really likable. I don't know why that is, but I definitely don't hate him. I adore him. Jeremy is quickly fascinated by Brigitte, not only because she's beautiful, but they start to connect on things that they actually agree on, like diplomacy and politics and international relations, and which is Brigitte is going to go to grad school for. Like, what? These two are kind of perfect for each other. And the girls ask if they can go to a bridge, and Jeremy's like, there wouldn't happen to be two boys at the other end of this bridge, would there? And Brigitte is like, oh, you meet two boys? And she's super excited and gets Jeremy to cave. Yes, Brigitte. Now we're on a triple date of sorts. Jeremy is rambling about water issues to Brigitte, but she loves how passionate she is. They're soulmates, I'm convinced. And Allie is trying to teach Jean English phrases so that he's ready for high school in America. Because he's going to go there at some point? I don't know. That's what she really wants. And Michel is getting really personal with Melanie and says that his father wants him to take over the butcher shop. And that's just not what he wants. He loves music. And this is where we learn that Brigitte is going back to grad school next year to pause in her modeling so that she can get her PhD in international relations. She's so cool. Now here's my favorite part in the entire movie, because Jean says that American girls, they love to laugh. And Allie's like, what? You know, ha. She's like, oh, laugh. Yeah, but Parisian girls, they walk like this. And he does a snooty walk. But American girls, they walk like this. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Oh my God. My sister and I used to mimic this and replay it 100 times over. Like, literally, we would just stop in the middle of everything and be like, bonjour, bonjour, oh my God. And, Jean is the best part of this film. The girls say that Jeremy owes them a huge favor for getting him a supermodel girlfriend. I mean, yeah, he kind of does owe them. This is a huge deal. He never would have met Brigitte if it were not for them. And that night, he sneaks in McDonald's into the dark kitchen, but Henri catches them. And Henri is mad because he's like, you never want to try anything new. Americans are the most closed-minded. Just look at this one, and points at Jeremy. And it's like, Mel says that they'll try one of his concoctions if he tries one of theirs. And he brings out quail eggs with artichoke. Okay. And they start to count down, and then Melanie's like, wait. You have to eat the hamburger with your hands. It's a hamburger, you eat with your hands. I get her logic, but like, okay. Anyways, then we get this close up on like eyes and mouths as they go 1, 2, 3. Melanie eats a quail egg and says, not bad. Now on the other end, Henri is stuffing his face with French fries and getting super excited. He's like, I told you French cuisine is some of the finest in the world. And he says it's rubbish and stuffing it down. And then Allie's like, here, try it with some ketchup. What? Ketchup. He puts the ketchup on the fries, loves it even more. I mean, obviously. French fries are amazing on their own. Jazz it up with some ketchup, you're a happy camper. Jeremy decides to take them out for shakes, and they ask him why he hates his job so much. And he's like, I don't hate it. I just, and they're like, you're miserable. And he says, well, I'm just frustrated. I can't seem to get your grandfather to take me seriously. And Melanie's like, okay, well, let me just ask. Around us, you're all like controlling and bossy and stuff. But around Grandpa, you're... And Allie finishes, a chicken. Yeah, that's it. And Allie's like, you gotta stand up for yourself and get a big mouth like Mel. And Melanie's like, yeah, like me. Wait, what? And I really like this moment because not only are we connecting better with Jeremy, but the three of them are becoming actual friends. It's not just the girls against Jeremy, Jeremy against the girls. We're actually connecting and starting to really get along. The next day, bass music is playing, and in Grandpa's office, there is a French maid who is dancing out her cute little heart. And Grandpa tells Francois to tell the girls to turn that music down. And he says, oui, oui, monsieur. Like, he can't wait to go talk to the girls. He's all joyful about it. And as he's leaving the room, Henri is walking in with Grandpa's breakfast, and they give each other a high five. What? I don't even know if Henri and Francois used to talk before this, but now they're like best buds. Henri gives Grandpa sunny side up eggs with French fries. And Grandpa picks up a French fry and is like, the whole staff has gone batty. Yeah, they kind of have. The next morning, the girls are wearing matching outfits. Melanie in blue and Allie in pink. These were one of my favorite outfits, mostly because they were just matching, and I loved the idea of that. And Jeremy tears up the itinerary and says they get to do whatever they want. And they, of course, pick shopping. And he's like, I don't do shopping. And then Brigitte is in the front seat of the car and she's like, I do shopping. Yes. Now, they couldn't film inside any of these stores, just like the museums. So instead, the girls bring out items for Brigitte to say yes or no to. And we get this amazing musical montage over like scarves and purses and a runway lesson with Brigitte. And I was obsessed with this runway montage with like Brigitte going, 1, 2, attitude, 1, 2, attitude. And they're like trading hats back and forth. And like Brigitte has like the best like big sister energy, and I'm obsessed. Now, later that night, Francois tells Grandpa that the girls are very tired and wish to be excused from dinner. And they're actually sneaking out to meet up with the boys. And they give them the really big test of, can they tell us apart? And the boys pass. Like, they're walking up to them in the wrong pairing, and they switch at the last second. Oh my gosh. I mean, I feel so much better. And I knew the boys were going to get it right. These guys know these girls. They love them. And crap, Jeremy caught us. He says he's going to call the ambassador, and they beg him not to. And then there's a really weird dialogue thing that happens where Allie starts a sentence and Melanie finish it. He just doesn't understand how important this is to us. It's super weird. I don't get it or why we do it, but okay. Jeremy tells Grandpa that he's taking the girls out for ice cream, and also he's in a polo rather than a suit. Like, Brigitte is getting him to like loosen up a little bit. And apparently they're also on a date. Like, this is going well. All three pairings are going super well right now. Jean says they're going to a secret bliss, and that is one of those lines that just lives in my head rent-free. Anytime someone says secret place, I'm like, secret bliss. Jeremy tells them 3 hours, don't be late. So obviously we're going to be late. The double date is on a rooftop overlooking the city and very close to the Eiffel Tower. Super romantic. And Jeremy and Brigitte's date gets very personal. They talk about their past histories, and they both pretty much realize that they're workaholics and completely dedicated to their careers and unwilling to compromise. And then they walk up to like a little ice cream cart, and he wants vanilla, she wants chocolate, and they both are like, and then she goes, I love chocolat. And he says, all right, 1 chocolate to share. And it's just such a beautiful way of showing that he's compromising in this moment, and hopefully she compromises next time, and they're going to find a way to meet in the middle because they're meant to be together. Back on our double date, Michelle asks Melanie if she wants to go to the dance with him because he's playing with his band at the dance, and she's like, obviously. And alternatively, Jean asks Allie, and she's like, I actually understood your English. And they both giggle. And Allie and Jean lean in for a kiss, but a cop shows up and says, this place is off limits. Totally ruining the moment, by the way. And the cop is like, this sign says no trespassing. And then Jean goes, violators will be executed, prosecuted. And then Melanie goes, I'm not sure which one is worse. I didn't know what prosecuted means when the first several times I saw this movie, but I was like, God, is prosecuted really that bad? Like, what does it mean? Oh, God. Jeremy has to call the ambassador because he can't find the girls because they're very late. And Grandpa is pissed. But Brigitte does not leave Jeremy's side. She stays with him the entire time. Outside the entryway, Brigitte says the girls will be fine. It's a woman's intuition. And then the cops show up with the girls and they're like, are we in trouble? Yeah, you showed up with the cops. Come on. Grandpa is yelling at the girls and Jeremy steps up and asks if he may say one thing. And Grandpa says, I'll deal with you later. Whoa. And he says, no, sir, you'll deal with me now. And he says, your granddaughters are fun and smart and so full of life. You would know that yourself, sir, if you just take the time to know them. And Grandpa says that he's very close to insubordination. Well, I'm about to get a little bit closer. Whoo! I love Jeremy. I love it. So then he goes, I gave you my position on the water treaty a week ago. You have yet to read it. That is true. I don't think he ever intended on reading it. And he says, my contribution here is falling on deaf ears. We check in just to see Melanie and Allie's reactions. They are both impressed, frightened, and proud of him all at the same time. Then he says, I quit. And Melanie and Allie are both like, no, not because of us. And he goes, no, thank you both. You gave me the courage to do what I should have done a long time ago. And then he takes Brigitte's hand and they leave. And the girls are, of course, forbidden to see those boys ever again. Oh, God. That night, the girls are in bed and they hear a tap on their window, and it's a rock because the boys are throwing pebbles. And I just have to say that, like, I miss moments like this because now we have, like, iPhones and iPads and all that stuff where you can, like, text or find a way to message someone instead of just, like, running to their house and, like, talking to them through a window in hushed voices. And it's just so special and sweet. The boys apologize for getting them in trouble, and the girls tell them, we can't go to the dance tomorrow night. And they're like, what? And we get a shot of Grandpa listening in from down below. Like he's in his office with his window open and he can hear everything and he doesn't stop it. He just listens. And then Michelle says, either we go with Melanie and Allie Porter or we go alone, right? And then John goes, right. And then they're all like, shh. And so he ducks down out of the camera. And I'm sorry, give this man comedian roles. Like, he is a natural born comedian and he needs more films. Like, and then the girls say it's not just the dance, like they can't see them anymore. And they're like, ever? And then we hear Francois say, hello, who is out there? Okay, I have to say that was pretty spot on, mimicking Francois's voice. Watch the movie, listen to what I just did. It's like exactly the same, pretty close. Jean blows Allie a kiss and she returns it and he pretends to faint and like, oh my God. And then Michelle goes, goodbye, beautiful girl. Oh my God. Jean returns one more time to wave at her and like, I feel like Jean and Allie are soulmates. I don't know about Michelle and Mel, but like Jean and Allie belong together. And in my mind, that's canon for the rest of Mary-Kate and Ashley universe. Like Jean is the one for Ashley. I'm convinced. The next day, preparations are happening big time for the state dinner, and Grandpa is carrying 2 huge gifts for the girls? What is going on? Interesting. It looks like he decorated office file boxes with like flowers on top, but okay, he tried. The girls are reading Jeremy's proposal for the water treaty and complimenting how smart he is and that they miss him, and it's really sweet. Grandpa comes in and apologizes and says he's partly to blame for what happened and that he should have spent more time with them. And then he tells them the story of how he met their grandmother and proposed to her after just a few weeks of knowing her. It was right after World War II and he was stationed in Paris. And I want to cry listening to this story. It's so sweet. He'd only known her for a few weeks and he spent every last franc he had to take her down the river on a boat and asked her to marry him. And she said yes. And they were together for 45 years and he gets a little teary and my heart squishes just thinking about it and how much he really loved her. And we don't know how long she's been gone, but like it's clear he really misses her. And I think that's part of why he works so much is because if he's working, then he's not focused on the fact that he misses his wife. Inside the gift boxes are matching dresses for Melanie and Allie. Allie's is red, Melanie's is black. And they ask why the dinner is so important. And he said, well, let's just say some people think it's time for me to retire. And they're like, don't you want to? There's still some fight left in your old grandpa. Now, at the state dinner, the girls meet Mr. and Mrs. Dubois. And clearly, this is just a name they made up to be silly. And Allie enchants them with her French. And Mr. Dubois makes fun of American schools and then is appalled when the appetizers are basically tiny sliders. Oops. And Henri is like, no, it's a delicacy I call boeuf Melanie. Okay, interesting. And obviously, Mr. Eau du Bois loves it because, doesn't everybody? Okay, I say that. I don't even really like burgers that much. I'm alone in that. I totally get it. I've had some really amazing burgers, but overall, I feel like burgers are pretty overrated. Pizza's way better. The entire dinner is for Grandpa to convince the Prime Minister, Mr. Eau du Bois, to sign the Clean Water Treaty, and it is not going well. The girls decide to help him and whisper to Francois some kind of plan. And Francois is like, oh, yes, of course. And he brings in this silver pitcher and then pours brown, murky water into the Prime Minister's glass. And every time I see it, I literally just want to vomit. It is so disgusting. And Mr. Eau du Bois takes a sip of it, spits it out, and is like, who is responsible for this? And the girls stand up and say, we are. Take it away, Mel. And Mel's like, me? Yeah, you watch all those legal shows? Time for a closing argument. And then as she's talking, Mr. Eau du Bois is getting very annoyed. And he's like, what do sewers have to do with anything? And she says, every time we ask for water in Paris, it comes in a bottle. Now, the mercury content is 27 parts per billion, and it makes you glow in the dark. Okay, that sounds really bad. Why have we not fixed this? Like, why do we need a treaty to fix this? Like, oh my God. And they're like, do we really want to be remembered for having disgusting water? And they're like, I don't think so, at the same time. And then they jinx each other at the same time and then are at a loss because they both can't speak now. And Grandpa quickly jumps in and goes, Allison, Melanie. And then they both say, thanks. Then the girls say, what cost is too high when your health and history are at stake? And then Mr. Eau du Bois says, Edward, your granddaughters are more persuasive than you are. I will petition my government to sign the Clean Water Treaty. Well, thank goodness. And then he calls them gems and seems to adore them because, of course, they do. They're very enchanting. Everyone's gone from the party and Grandpa says they can go to the dance. Yes! So they run upstairs to get ready, but they stay in the same dresses. I think they were just kind of freshening up. And Grandpa takes him himself in the limo, and all three of them stick their head out the moonroof. And it's the most sweetest moment ever because Grandpa is remembering how to have fun. I feel like because his wife was gone, he like shut down all the sweet and soft parts of himself, and now he's just blossoming back into who he really is. I'm so glad. The girls arrive at the dance and the boys are playing on stage, and both boys look up and their faces brighten when they see the girls. And it's just so incredibly sweet because you can tell like they were happy to play for their band on stage and at the dance, but there was something missing. Allie and Melanie. For some really weird reason, Brigitte and Jeremy are there. Because what? Okay, then we learn that he got rehired by Grandpa and promoted, and apparently he's there to chaperone them. Okay, that part checks out. The boys leave the band on stage and ask the girl to dance, and this moment I both love and do not love because the girls have their first on-screen kiss in this film. And apparently it may have also been the first kiss in real life for the girls as well. And that's a lot of pressure for little girls. It's a lot of pressure for anyone. And it kind of upsets me that this is how their lives were kind of forced to go. We didn't need to have a kiss on screen. We could have had a like kind of faux kiss on screen and not known that they didn't really kiss. You know, there's so many ways to make that happen. There are tricks of the camera angles, things like that. And yet we pressured these young actresses to do so many things. And we really did that a lot in the 90s and early 2000s. It's like we treated child actors like puppets. And there's so many interviews where young women are asked, are you still a virgin? Are you dating anyone? And it's like they were basically checking to see if the girls were still good girls or if they're scary girls. And the audience really harped on whether or not you held on to your virginity for longer than they thought you should, or long enough, or whatever it was. Or did you wait for love or marriage or all those things? And then boys were held at a very different caliber. It was always about, have you made a notch in your belt yet? Hurry up and make it happen. Like, why haven't you made it happen yet? Like, ooh, not good with the ladies, huh? Or, ooh, ladies man, huh? Like, I don't know. It's so gross. On to the goodbye scenes. Henri gives them food for the plane and tells them to tell the staff to cook the food at a certain temperature and then they finish for him. All is lost. Oh, so sweet. And Henri kisses both of them 3 times and he's clearly like, don't leave. And then Francois cries upon saying goodbye to them. And can he just like be an honorary uncle, please? Like, oh, I feel like he didn't get to spend enough time with the girls and I'm a little sad for him. Jeremy and Brigitte say goodbye at the limo, and Jeremy is terrible at this. Like, he does not know how to like say goodbye and like be mushy. And then they make fun of him, which I think kind of helps because they're like, you're not gonna get all mushy gushy on us, are you, Jeremy? And then they tell him that they're gonna miss him, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah. And what's cute is that Brigitte says that she's gonna see them in the States, which I love. I really hope that Brigitte like kept up with her friendship with these girls because I feel like they're really good influences on each other. Now, Grandpa is waiting in the limo and announces that they all have a plane to catch because he's going back to the States with them. And I'm very happy about that. He needs to spend more time with these girls and he's finally like letting loose and it's time. He needs to like go hang out with his family and like reconnect with his heart again. He manages to jinx them and then teases them about how he's not gonna say their name the entire flight. Like, it's gonna be a quiet flight home. And they're like, ah. And then Melanie does the voiceover and says, don't worry, Grandpa finally unjinxed us. And then we get a really cute montage of their favorite memories of Paris. Then Melanie says in her voiceover, we were only gone a week, but we were changed for a lifetime. And I have to say that's super true. Traveling, especially at a young age, does develop you as a person. I mean, traveling at any age really does. It changes you because you experience different cultures and food, and just traveling alone is a lot. It's a lot of planning, it's a lot happening. Flying on a plane, a train, driving in a car, road trip situation, all of that, you grow as a person. And if you're traveling with other people, you get to know them on a deeper, different level than you would just in normal life. So I'm gonna highly encourage you to travel, pick a spot, watch all the YouTube videos about it, learn what you would want to eat, what you would want to do there, where you would want to stay, and just start saving up for it. Make a goal. Like, I know travel is expensive and it's hard to take off work and stuff like that, but it's so worth it. And listen, I'm terrified of flying and I'm still telling you to do it. Back at home, the girls are on their headsets with their phone, talking to their friends again, of course, but now they have a yen for travel. And as they're discussing their next vacation spot, just the two of them walking down the street, they run into Kyle and Shane, and the girls get them mixed up. Yes. Love that turnaround. Love it. And the boys are like really offended, but then they still ask, so do you guys want to like go to the mall or something? And they're like, no, we're good. As they are walking away from the camera, the girls are like, so what about Africa? And then we get tons of bloopers intermixed with our end credits. And all of our bloopers freeze frame onto each character and tell us the real name of the actor. And Brigitte can't say promoted to save her life, and it's super cute. My favorite blooper, though, is Ashley interrupting herself to ask someone off camera, why are you shaking your head? It's so cute. All right, I have to say, this movie really holds up for me. Truly holds up. I enjoyed every single second of it. And I was really excited to share it with y'all because even though there's nothing special about the way that the movie was made or created, there's no like special sounds necessarily other than cutesiness, but I just really enjoyed it. And it's a really deep, nostalgic hit for me personally. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, like, subscribe, follow, rate, review, all the things wherever you're watching or listening. And next week, we are going to be talking about Grey's Anatomy. We're going to do a 2-parter, The End of the World as We Know It. And it's a season 2 episode 2-parter that aired after the Super Bowl many, many moons ago. And it's actually one of my favorite episode arcs, and I love the way it was done, and I can't wait to talk about it. So if you're excited for that, let me know in the comments down below if you're on YouTube, or you can also send me an email at letsrewatchitagain@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at letsrewatchitagain. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flippity flip.